Hello and welcome to our English news coming to you from Canal Algérie. First, top stories after news. The President of the Republic, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces National Defense Minister, announced the final of Algiers Military Football Cup and hands the trophy to the Republican Guards team. The Algiers International Book Fair officially opens with the heavy presence of publishers, and Mauritania is a guest of honor. And Sahrawi demonstrators in the refugee camps call for a fair settlement to the issue of Western Sahara, while human rights organizations castigate the blockade being imposed by the Mersin regime. Hello and welcome, and thanks for joining us. First in our news, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, supervised the ceremony of the final Algerian Military Football Cup in its 53rd edition, held in Ben Aknan Center belonging to the 1st Military Region. The President was received by the Army General Saïd Chingriha, Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, PNA, Chief of Staff. The full package with Willy Sakabash.
Following the welcoming ceremony, the President listened to the national anthem and received the honors presented by the different units of the People's National Army. Before saluting the delegation present to welcome him, notably the General Secretary of the National Defense Ministry, the Commander of the Republican Guard, Commanders in Force, Cabinet Director to the National Defense Ministry, the Acting Commander of the National Gendarmerie, the Commander of the 1st Military Region, the Head of the Employment and Readiness of the General Staff of the People's National Army, as well as Chief of the Military Sports Service. The President of the Republic proceeded to follow the game from the official tribune, where he presided over the official kickoff of the final game that brought together the Republican Guard Command team and that of the Directorate of Administration and Common Services of the National Defense Ministry. In the presence of members of the government, advisors to the presidency, heads of departments and central directors of the National Defense Ministry and the General Staff of the PNA. The first half witnessed an equal share of chances between the two teams as it ended in a goalless draw. The game got tougher by the second half. However, the two teams drew without scoring any goal, and the two sides had recourse to a penalty shootout, which ended in favor of the Republican Guard Command team, the winner of this prestigious military football trophy. At the end of the match, the President of the Republic handed medals to both teams and awarded the Algerian Military Cup to the Republican Guard Command team.
يسلم الكأس نهائي كأس الجزائر العسكرية لكرة القدم لقائد فريق الرئيس يحضر منافسة الغالية ولاعبو قيادة طبعا السيد الرئيس في المقابل كمال.
On the sidelines of the game, the President of the Republic honored a group of military athletes and military sports teams who shined this season in various disciplines at both national and international levels, and who achieved highly positive results that reflected the great abilities and professional level reached by military sports teams. Finally, the President of the Republic took a souvenir photo with the honored athletes before signing the Golden Register of the sports team's Training and Preparation Center.
To another story now. Under the President of the Republic's patronage, Prime Minister Seif Harib opened the 28th Algiers International Book Fair, held under the theme Books, a Crossroad of Cultures, with Mauritania as a guest of honor. Melissa Lila Balaman reports.
Under the high patronage of the President of the Republic, Prime Minister Seif Harib chaired on Wednesday the official opening ceremony of the 28th Algiers International Book Fair, held at the Exhibition Palace under the theme Books, a Crossroads of Cultures. This year's guest of honor is the Islamic Republic of Mauritania. The opening ceremony was attended by the Mauritanian Minister of Culture, the Presidential Advisor in charge of communication, and several members of the government. The Prime Minister began his visit at the pavilion dedicated to children's books and publications. At the National People's Army Pavilion, he reviewed the latest Arabic and foreign language releases before making a stop at the Ministry of Culture's pavilion and several national publishing houses. He also visited the Mauritanian Pavilion, guest of honor at this year's edition, a gesture that underscores the depth and strength of the cultural ties between the two countries. We must encourage these young people so that their ideas are not only showcased at a fair, but actually brought to life on the ground. I remind both the Minister of Knowledge Economy, Startups and Microenterprises to support this young talent, as well as all others with promising ideas and projects. We need to focus on digitizing literary culture so it can become a true bridge for conveying writers' messages to the younger generation. Over the course of 10 days, the 28th Algiers International Book Fair will come alive with talks, sign-ins, and events celebrating the world of literature. Featuring 1,254 publishers from 49 countries, the fair has become a vibrant crossroads of cultures, where literature speaks the language of all humanity.
Prime Minister Seif Harib also chaired on Wednesday a cabinet meeting devoted to the draft and executive decree relating to the interest rate subsidy and the benefit rate relating to bank loans intended to fund investment projects. The government also examined a draft executive decree fixing the benefit modalities relating to people with specific needs and those accompanying them in terms of transport. And finally, the government reviewed the progress of the Sidi Abdallah project as part of the following the main urban centres. To another story now. The State Minister of Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, held a phone conversation with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi. The conversation revolved around the different aspects of strategic cooperation between both countries, particularly in the economic field, in line with the great importance attached by the two countries' leaders. The two ministers discussed as well the points included in the UN Security Council's agenda, at the top of which the decolonization process in Western Sahara. Ahmed Attaf had also a phone call with the Pakistani Deputy Prime Minister, Foreign Affairs Minister Mohammed Ishaq Dar, an opportunity to assess bilateral cooperation and to review ways and means of further promoting them. Both sides tackled the main points included in the UN Security Council's agenda during this month. On the occasion of celebrating the 50th anniversary of Angola's independence and as a token of Algeria's constant support to the liberation process and the unwavering commitment to the people's right to self-determination, the Angolan government decided to pay tribute to late Presidents Ahmed Ben Bella and Houari Boumediene on November the 6th. As part of getting back the confiscated real estate properties and in and outside the country, the Palace Hotel in Barcelona, Spain has been restored, a move symbolizing the country's legal and economic sovereignty. You are still watching Canal Algérie, still to watch in our channel news. Tension is mounting once again in Morocco, with citizens displaying their will to stage a sit-in in front of Parliament to voice their protests. Welcome back to our news. In the Sahara refugee camps, mobilization goes on with demonstrations calling for first settlement to the Sahara issue, reaffirming their people's right to self-determination. The protesters urged the international community to abide by the UN resolutions to decades of expectation and confusion. In a related topic, amid growing concern from international observers, Sahrawi rights groups are condemning what they call suffocating blockade in Western Sahara, a policy that it aims to silence dissent and crush the will of the Sahrawi people. More details with Bisma Far.
Sahrawi human rights organizations continue to denounce the total blockade imposed by the Moroccan occupier on the territories of Western Sahara. A blockade described as suffocating, aimed at silencing free voices. They say it is a maneuver to suppress demonstrations and to impose submission on the Sahrawi people. The collective affirms that the population categorically rejects this policy of repression. It recalls that the right to self-determination is non-negotiable and that no solution can be achieved without a free and fair referendum supervised by the United Nations. Sahrawi human rights defenders are calling on the international community to break its silence and to act in order to ensure respect for international law and UN resolutions. Several associations are also joining their voices demanding an end to the occupation and better protection for civilians. They reaffirm that the settlement of the Sahrawi question cannot be achieved without a UN AIU referendum as agreed by both parties in the 1991 peace plan. Despite the blockade and repression, the Sahrawi people remain determined to pursue their struggle for freedom and independence.
And Moroccan citizens are once again taking to the streets. The victim of Al Hawz earthquake plan a new protest in front of Parliament to denounce the government's slow response and demand compensation. Bismafa once again.
Tension is once again mounting in Morocco. Citizens are back in the streets to express their frustration. This time, the coordination of the victims of Al Hawz earthquake has announced a sit-in protest in front of the parliament. The demonstration planned for the next weekend aims to denounce what they describe as authorities' indifference to the difficult situation faced by thousands of affected families. 2 years after the earthquake, many victims are still living in precarious conditions. According to the coordination, this move follows the government's failure to honor its promises concerning the reconstruction of homes and the resettlement of displaced families. The group considers the current situation a violation of citizens' rights and a setback from the government's pledges made in the declaration of 14 September 2023. Still, according to the coordination, the amounts of compensation promised by the government remain unclear. Many victims who lost their homes have yet received any compensation, even as winter approaches. The coordination is still calling on civil movements, human rights groups, and the media to stand by the victims. They urge the public to join the protest and to press the authorities to reassess their management of the crisis, holding them accountable for what the group described as a complete failure to meet the people's needs. Observers say the situation reveals a lack of government commitment to the victims of disasters. They also point to structural dysfunctions in the country's solidarity mechanisms. The victims, for their part, remain determined to continue the protests until their demands are met.
Still with international news to the Palestinian territories now, where about 100 people were killed in attacks conducted by the Zionist army in Gaza, reviving thereby the two-year atrocities. According to the Palestinian news agency, the death toll is likely to increase since many people are still under the rubble, in addition to other strikes carried out by the warplanes of the occupation army in several regions of Gaza. To the weekly report of the PNL, and as part of fighting terrorism, PNA detachment arrested 7 people backing terrorist groups in different operations throughout the national territory. As for combating organized crime and drug trafficking, PNA units in coordination with different security services intercepted 51 drug traffickers and thwarted attempts to introduce 7 quintals and 21 kilograms of processed cannabis hailing from regions bordering Morocco, and seized a huge quantity of psychotropic tablets. In Tamaras, Burj Baji Mukhtar, in Salah, in Gizem and Elize, PNA units arrested 204 individuals and seized 52 vehicles and equipment used in illegal gold panning operations. In the same context, 12 other individuals were apprehended in their possession weapons of different types, fuel, tobacco and foodstuffs destined to speculation and smuggling. And finally, coastal guards followed attempts of illegal migration, rescued 175 migrants using dignities and arrested 478 migrants of different nationalities throughout the national territory. Sports now, with a thrilling game bringing together GS Sawa to GS Kabali, which ended in a 2-all draw as part of the National Football Championship. Let's follow the highlights of the game.
من أمام عمود الركنية مرفوعة داخل المنطقة. وضعها المدافع في الشباك. بح سيف ومالكي وليد سليمان تيشتيشو. يحتفظ يعود الى الخلف. هاي مرفوعه من كونستو، اخطر عنصر في الشوط الثاني. بحث عن ركله الجزاء، بحث عن ركله الجزاء فكان له ما اراد. قاسم ريان وحديد، من يتمكن؟ ريان ام حديد؟
A thrilling game indeed. With this, we come to the end of our news bulletin. Tomorrow, another day of the news. Keep tuning to our channel and program. Take care. Bye-bye for now.